Welcome back everyone to the Piney Forever Challenge, where we're back here in the shop. I decided to switch out the glass windows for some fence post ones because I decided that that will maybe keep things a little bit cooler. So we have things less trapped inside due to greenhouse effects. We now then, of course, maintained our glass ceiling since I think that will be necessary in what we're doing here since we want to let in the sunlight. I decided to do the fishing hole offline, so therefore I just created a simple little fishing hole here. Again, a glass ceiling with the fences there. And as you can see, I just decided to redo the entire floor for the center. I got sick of the diorite slash granite one that I had before, so I decided to instead substitute this and take advantage of the remaining glazed terracotta that I had. And that way we could match the floor I have in there and also the floor that I have in here. I then finished the rails and the walls all the way out to here. Do have a couple of banners to do, but pretty much all of that is done, and my exteriors now match, which is one of the things that inspired me doing this, is that the exteriors were a little bit inconsistent, and in the end I decided that just didn't look right. Yes, we do have some funny things with the roof, but I am going to have to live with that situation. So that's our status with the place here. The only thing that is left is the customer and ticket area. Before I forget, I also switched around the storage area, so I also have the larger windows that I'm using for the other rooms, and of course moved the chests so that they do not block the windows. And I think this is a nicer system, and I hope this is the last time that I move it all around, because I already completely rearranged this room twice and maybe partially done it once or twice before that. But now it is all consistent on the outside. And since we're talking about consistency on the outside, obviously I'm going to have consistent walls here, otherwise it's just going to bother me. So let's start with my cut sandstone all the way around here, and we'll do our usual outline. I'm going to create, first of all, I'm going to create a set of walls that's exactly like what we have in the others. Then I'll modify it so that it'll fit what will be the entrance and exit, because currently there is no entrance and exit on those, but I just want to show what the baseline is. Then we can modify it so that it will fit in with the rest. And as I was doing that, I suddenly realized that in the storage room I've got regular sandstone on top, while on all the others I've got cut sandstone. I wonder how long it would have taken me to have realized that otherwise if I hadn't been doing the ticket area and saying, it's supposed to be on top there. Oops. Let's make sure that we get cut sandstone up there. There's cut sandstone. There we go. Now we are consistent. And we're also adding extra blocks there. This naturally has not a very friendly way to get out, jumping through the windows, and once you do get out, there is no way back in without adding ladders or something like that. We will need an entrance, and the entrance we shall put right here. There you go. now we have a way in and out. I'll have to put some stairs over here. And an acacia door. Would an acacia door work here? Yeah, I think an acacia door would work there. That means putting... Ooh, should put... The question is whether it should be sandstone or cut sandstone. Let's put no, that looks inconsistent with everything else. So let's try sandstone instead. See how that works. Good, we could then have our way in and out. Now we're also going to need shutters on the various windows. If the shutters were purely for show, I would use acacia shutters to be consistent with the door and the window. But in this case, they need to show that they are shutters that will be used in the case of a storm. If there's a sandstorm or a water storm or rainstorm of any sort, then you'd want to be able to close the shutters to keep the sand or the rain from getting inside. Therefore, it would be important to have shutters that don't have a lot of holes in them. So therefore, the spruce, I think, would be perfect in that regard. There you go. Spruce shutters, acacia windows, acacia doors. Let's have sandstone stairs leading up like that. I'll probably have to take down some of this sand so it's more on level. I'll think about it. That's probably not something I need to do immediately. Now, I was wondering if I should, how about instead of sandstone doing completely different and having chiseled sandstone there. That way we have a little bit something different on top, and it blends, I think, reasonably well with the sandstone, so it's not too jarring in there, and I think just adds a little bit something to show that this is different. And I may have to find another way up so I don't have this ladder here, especially on the side that everybody's going to be seeing the most because they're going to be coming in and out right through this door. And I think that's an exterior. In looking at this, I noticed that most of the regular sandstone is now covered up, but it is still visible on the inside, so therefore I'm not going to go around switching that out and just keep that as it is. What I don't want to keep as is, though, are these stairs here. They just look out of place with being sandstone because we've got the andesite on the bottom there. So therefore, I will use stone brick there. And now I think I've got a nice exterior for that. Now, for the ceiling, I don't want a glass ceiling like I have in these two rooms because here it's glass because I needed the light, and there, of course, fishing is most effective if you've got a transparent block above there. So I did that for, well, for mechanical reasons, partly for this one and here, partly for mechanical reasons, and partly because who's going to believe a greenhouse where you don't have light? But here, I don't want anything like that. We want to maintain a nice cool atmosphere. A shade from the sunlight is what you want when you're in here. So if you want shade, then we don't want a glass ceiling. Now, one possibility is to do what I hear. Probably I'll do that for the first draft, is do the same type of ceiling that I have over here. And if I get any brilliant ideas of how to make it more decorated later, I can do so. But for now, I could have a nice standard simple ceiling here. And the gray there looks like it's going to be nice and cool. And I think that will work here. And while I'm thinking of it, I'm wondering if I could switch. Now, I can't use what I'm using over here, because over here I am using slabs on the top. That was to keep mobs from spawning, so to make the whole thing as mob proof as possible. But here, of course, I'm mob proofing with the glass, and if you, I was thinking of having some way of transitioning in, but A, there isn't a way to make that mob proof. Well, I do have the light up on top. And B, a transition from that into the glass I don't think would be very good. So I'm going to leave that as is for now. Instead, I'll just start working on this ceiling here, which is going to be starting out with stone block stairs. I was considering doing something here as what I'm doing here with the acacia door and the glass to make things visible, but maybe it'd be even better just to have a straight connection like this, since this is where the passengers will be heading back and forth in order to get to the train section. Now, if this were a subway system, there would probably be some sort of turnstile, but it's not quite that busy a system, so I think in a less formal case would be better there. This side, though, would be similar to what I had before, and that would be the acacia there to match what I have here with a spruce door. Because this is going to be for authorized personnel only. And that just leaves what I have here. I'm thinking spruce fences might be ideal here. Something similar to what I have over here. Would this work? I have a little ticket booths. If you have ticket booths, then I can have it like that. There, there, and there. That's not what I call symmetrical. So we'll do it the other way, where it should be symmetrical then, if I've got this right. Good, then we have 4 little ticket booths, and if they need a little work on the side, then they could put it right there. There you go. Therefore, we have our ticket booths. We have the opening here. We'll need to do better on the lighting. We start off with that. Obvious place to have a few lights. And then we'll put some on the walls here. Then we can check to see if there is any place on the floor that still needs a little extra light. It looks like everything's lit up, everything is done. I'm sure I'll come back here at some other time saying maybe this will be better or something like that, but at least for an initial version, this is it. We will need banners for the other sides, but we can do the banners for the sides that are actually being built and that have been built, because this is going to be, of course, closed until we have this line complete, because it means it's time that we could start laying track. We can finally start on the rail lines, and the early part is going to be the straightforward bit. As we continue along, we have to decide what we're going to do with the ground. There are some parts where I'm going to want to level it. In fact, I've already done some leveling here so that I didn't have a sudden hill. And there is going to have to be some climbing involved, but I don't want to have all the high hills here. If I have a high hill that goes down soon afterwards, I just want to pull down the hill because a sand hill isn't exactly the safest bedding for a railroad. If I don't want to have to be forced to bring down everything we've got. Now, of course, sandstone isn't going to be my bedding either, and unfortunately, trouble with, what do I have here? Efficiency 4, yeah. Efficiency 4 is great when you want to bring down a massive bunch of some sort of stone block and give yourself a good area there, but it is really, really annoying when you're going against something soft like sandstone over here. Now let's bring out some gravel because gravel is going to be important, and also I figure we'll have cobble in the middle as a hard thing in the middle, and then on the sides there we will have gravel, which would be our main bedding. Okay. And I have this go all the way across there. And we can start on tracks. Now, we do have the question of what we're going to do about power and how often we're going to be needing it. I figure that at the moment, of course, we'll need some powered rails. Now here I am going to have both, but most of the way I'm only going to have one side, but I just wanted to have both so I can make sure that whatever I do works on two sides. And I'm going to need some power here. The question is, yes, redstone torch. So what I'll do is I'll have these redstone torches that I'll have at intervals. Won't provide much light, but it'll power our rails, and that'll be our primary power source as we head down. I think I am finished with doing this side, and I'll just concentrate on this side and bring this down as far as I can. And eventually we will reach the first little stop along the way, which is at our village that we moved a while back. Of course, the inclines are always going to look a little bit funny. So hopefully that yeah, it looks a bit funny, but that's just one of the things that happens when you're dealing with Minecraft instead of with real world stuff. That and having to go back and forth between sand and pick. And I think this will work straightforward all along. I do have to make sure that if I do have inclines, that I take that into account on my intervals for my torches there, because I think you need a little bit of extra oomph in order to be able to get over hills. And I have to take into account this in both directions, because even though when going downhill you probably need fewer ones because of the effects of gravity, on the other side you'll be going uphill, so you can't just assume that gravity is going to help you in one particular direction. You have to assume that gravity is against you in both directions. I had been gradually cutting this down as I've been going through, make it nice and easy for the train line to come through. And as I was starting on this rail system, it felt a little bit off, so I decided to finally take some measurements in it, and yeah, -3. I'm off by 3 blocks. While I only have the beginnings of that done, I think we need to at least do a quick test here to make sure that I am getting my numbers right. Well, the start was a bit anemic, so I will need a little extra punch in order to get through there, but on the track itself I seem to be going at a decent pace there. So we'll use that as a start, and if I need a little bit extra power along the way, then I can add some extra torches. I want to make sure I get the ideal speed. I don't want it to go too fast or too slow, and that beginning was very definitely on the too slow side. Though, if you've ever been in a real train, it always feels like how things are when you start to go, when you get up to speed at the station and all of that. But that is it for today. Between now and the next episode, I am going to see how far I can build this out, take down more of that hill, see if I could get a little speeding up on the start of it, and see how nice everything looks. But it looks like I am finally starting to build the entire purpose of this, and that is getting our rail line. And that's what we'll continue with in the next episode of the Railroad Challenge.